Most businesses think that revenue comes from getting more clients, more leads, more traffic, more sales calls, and more ad spend. And honestly, that approach 100% works. And there's never a point when you are scaling your company where you shouldn't focus on that. But eventually, the business will start to feel heavier when the only thing that you're doing is focusing on front-end demand only. More clients does mean more onboarding, more communication, more admin, more delivery, more pressure, and also more moving parts. And what is interesting is that many businesses already have hidden revenue within their existing client base. They're just not exploring how to actually do that. They just don't actually have a system that helps them find it. So in this video, I want to show you how businesses are using AI to create retention assets, identify upsell opportunities, improve the actual client experience, but most importantly, grow revenue internally. Again, without having to constantly chase more clients. Because more revenue does not always require more customers. Sometimes it requires just having the right operating system and the right upsell system and the right ascension system to actually maximize a single person what would potentially worth 10 new clients on a single offer. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that service provider business makes is believing that growth only happens on the front end, meaning that it's just a case of always needing more leads or looking at thinking, right, acquisition is the only thing to focus on. And a lot of businesses become quietly obsessed with acquisition while quietly neglecting the thing that actually happens when a client says yes. And that is normally where a big leak is with actual revenue growth and plateaus. Because when a client joins your business, one of two things happen. Right? Either the relationship will get stronger, trust will increase, communication improves, and value will compound, or the relationship slowly becomes reactive, communication slows down, the experience becomes inconsistent, and then opportunities get missed and momentum disappears. And if you just start to think about that, you will start to think about how you can actually stretch these client relationships out, but also ascend them through into a high-level system for more revenue to keep a single client for longer rather than having to chase new people all of the time. So revenue leakage is usually invisible. It's not one big giant disaster. It's dozens of small little moments where it's like a missed follow-up or a weak onboarding system or slow communication or no proactive support or a forgotten upsell or an unclear system or does not even have an ascension next step in place for that client to actually want to purchase it in the first place. Something as simple as that. And the easiest revenue in a business usually is going to come from the people who actually directly trust you right now in that moment. And that is your active clients. And that's a really important mark because trust already exists. You do not need to convince them that you are real or explain your process or prove your credibility or overcome the same resistance that you've had to when you are facing cold leads and cold traffic, because that work has already been done. And yet most business owners spend all of their time and energy trying to just find strangers while underserving their actual existing clients at the moment. And in my opinion, that is completely backwards, because usually the highest traction opportunity inside the businesses are increasing retention, improving lifetime value, increasing client satisfaction, and solving the next problem that the client has not solved for themselves yet. And that is where AI becomes incredibly useful. Not because AI magically creates revenue itself, but because AI will help businesses stay organized, stay proactive, notice patterns early, and also remove operational friction. And the operational friction is one of the biggest silent killers for growth that you've got in your business, which you probably aren't even looking at the moment. So the first system that I want to talk about is retention. And honestly, retention is massively, massively underrated. Most businesses focus so heavily on sales that they completely ignore what actually happens after the sale. But if a client does not stay, you are constantly rebuilding that revenue from scratch. It costs you 10 times more to get a client than it does to keep a client. That is exhausting. So what I want you to imagine is this. Your business has an AI system watching for communication gaps, delayed responses, engagement drops, missed milestones, inactive clients, and also recurring complaints. And you can feed it all of this information. So instead of waiting for a client to become frustrated, the system will notice the actual pattern early because it's got the contents and knowledge to be able to work from. Maybe a client has not engaged in 2 weeks, or maybe a report in performance has dropped, or maybe a check-in that you've had or subjective information or whatever that is, you've not picked up something in their messaging. There's so many different signals that you are going to be missing because you're having to manage what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And AI will basically change that because it will be extremely good at basically monitoring the actual communication patterns that you actually have with that client. So instead of reacting late, the business can step in early, like a check-in message that might have got ignored, or a support call or a check-in or a video call or something in that communication with that client which you didn't notice, but the AI system can pick it up as a trigger for them potentially leaving. And that will change the client experience, not just because you are giving them a better service by creating more of an intelligent brain, but it will also be better for you because you can pick up where there's going to be a potential drop-off where you've not actually spotted it yourself. There's a huge difference there. So now let's talk about upsells, which a lot of people don't actually do. And that is where most of the hidden revenue is in your company at the moment. Most businesses already have clients who would be happy to pay more. 100%. And if you don't think so, trust me, you can. And if someone identified the right opportunity to them at the right time, they would probably jump up to it. But it doesn't happen. I don't know why. Not because the team is bad, but because just humans are inconsistent. Like, people get busy, people forget, people will not have the time to even build that next level ascension. And that is where AI is so incredibly useful here, because it can identify the pattern that you are currently missing in your company, but also be able to build the thing that you don't have time to do. So what I want you to know is imagine that your AI system will notice everything. And it will not only just about client communication and what's actually happening inside your company with them, but also gaps that you've actually got in your offer ascension structure, gaps that you've got to be able to actually create that upsell. And all it comes down to is creating the level of intelligence, building more knowledge around those clients, find out more about their pain points, and then go into the AI system and then simply just speak into it and saying, what could be my upsell? What could be my ascension here? But it's not just about that. It's about how you can actually move into knowing when to actually upsell that client. So instead of having like a random sales conversation with an active client, the upsell will basically become contextual, because it's been fed the information, the check-ins, the reportings, and the structures of that client. And you can actually turn around to it and say, can you actually tell me when it would be a good time to actually approach this client about this new offer or this new upsell based on what they're actually reporting and feeding back to you. And that for me is where long-term revenue and growth really comes from. The third system is looking at the actual client experience. And honestly, this is where businesses massively underestimate the power of operational smoothness, because clients notice chaos. Even when you think that it's all running perfect, even when you think that everything's clean and easy, clients will be noticing it. Clients will notice a slow reply, the inconsistent communication, the unclear onboarding, the delayed updates, and also the missed details. And over time, that will affect trust, whether you like it or not. Now, compare that to a business that feels organized, feels responsive, feels structured, and feels proactive. Those businesses will feel premium to that client, even before the actual results arrive to them. And that is why smart businesses will be obsessing over the actual experience that clients have. Now, AI can automate a huge part of this experience, but also add so much more value to it with the workflow onboarding, with the summaries, the check-in reminders, with the intelligence that you build, with the tools that you can build for clients, with the SOPs, the fast-track solutions. Guys, you name it, it can be done within seconds. You can build a world-class program or product within 7 days now, while still maintaining your human relationship, because that's what people are paying for. Because the goal of AI is to basically make a business feel robotic. The goal is to remove the repetitive operational pressure so you can focus on the most important part, and that is the human relationship you have with those people. But that does not mean that you can't come in and use and build multiple different tools for these people to then be able to get them to a solution with their pain point faster, while also giving them a better client of experience in the process. And honestly, this matters even more for service-related businesses, in my opinion, because service businesses are without question operationally heavy by nature. Growth will basically create more communication, more coordination, more admin, more projects, more support, because you're working with human to human. And eventually what happens is the founder becomes the bottleneck. And that is where the business will plateau, because the founder doesn't have the time to build out the better client experience anymore, the better content, the better marketing, the better acquisition, because they are stuck doing so much manual workload. And that is why AI is such a huge opportunity right now. Not because business suddenly needs more tools, but because business needs traction. And the businesses that are winning right now are not necessarily working harder. They are just working smarter, and they are using and removing friction at a much faster rate. So they can build a better client experience. They can build better responsiveness. They can identify opportunities earlier. They can build upsells. They can build ascension assets. They can build multiple different tools and systems and products to improve that client experience for that person without even having to increase their own manual workload. That is where the real game is at the the moment. It is not a case of how many AI tools can we use, but instead, how intelligently can we operate and how much better can we create a client experience for the people that we are serving. That's the important part. Most business owners will approach AI completely backwards, in my opinion. They start by asking, what AI tool should we use? Or what do I need to do with this? And that is just the most open, basic, wrong question known to man. The better question to focus on is to be looking at, where are we actually leaking time? Where are we leaking momentum? Where are we leaking money? Where is there a gap in our client experience? What is the problem with our customer journey at the moment? What are we missing with upsells and ascension assets? Why are we not getting better results? And you start focusing on inserting this into the AI system, and you will not believe the type of intelligence that you can get in return. Like, this is not about using AI at high level strategy. It's about just inserting what you do to improve retention, improve LTV, create a smoother operation, and better communication with your clients. And that's what's going to be really profitable. It's not just about quick win content or money, everything else. Like, AI for me has changed my life in terms of what I can provide and what I can give to my clients. I literally sat and cried at my desk 6 weeks ago because anything that I've ever wanted to do for my people, I can now do. Like, that is such a powerful place to be in as a founder and a business owner. But it just comes down to what type of business owner that you are. Because revenue growth is incredible. And that's the reason why I'm talking about this today. Because if you do have better client retention, you do have a better client experience, and you've got tools and systems that can facilitate that for you, why would you not be doing that? This is not just about using AI for basic level, quick wins, content generation. It's about building a world-class solution for the people that are already paying you. And once you've built that world-class solution for the people that are paying you right now, then naturally, what is the next step that you can provide to them? And again, with the right type of setup structures, you can build out upsells, ascension models, new offers, and new pathways and new improvements to your customer journey within a matter of days compared to a previous what would take years. And what I say to business owners now is, if you've got the ability to read, copy and paste, follow instructions, and also communicate and work one-to-one with me, I can set any system up with AI for you at absolute high level, talking £100,000 a month with what it would be in staff wages. We have specialized in Claude for the last 2 years, and we just keep all our time and attention focused on there. And if you want to see how I can help you do that and insert that directly into your business, there's a link in the description on this video where you can find out more, and I'll see you on the next video.